Does getting started with your workouts feel overwhelming? Like, you should be exercising, but just the whole idea of trying to figure out what to do and when to do it and what clothes to wear and everything like that, it just feels like so much to think about that it's actually stopping you from exercising consistently or exercising at all. Well, there's a very simple process that you can go through in order to help you get past the feelings of overwhelm and focus on exactly what you need to do in order to be able to exercise consistently. And that's exactly what we're going to be exploring on today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast. We're going to cue the intro song and then we're going to dive right into this conversation. Welcome to the Exercise is Health podcast, where we're talking about exercise, health, and the interconnectedness of the two. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie,
and we will be coming to you every single week from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg. Hey, what's going on, exercisers? This is Charlie. Before we dive into this week's episode, I want to let you know about a new training that's happening this week titled How to Rebuild Your Aching Body in as Little as 6 weeks Without Changing Your Lifestyle. See, if you love the discussions that we have every single week on the Exercise is Health podcast, but you want more of the practical application, the details of how to take the information and apply it to your workouts, then you need to be on this training. All you have to do to get registered for free is go to secrets.exerciseforlifemethod.com. But space is limited, so make sure to get registered ASAP. Now, without further ado, let's dive into this week's episode. Hey, welcome back, exercisers, to the Exercise is Health podcast. We are your hosts, Charlie
and Julie.
We're coming to you from our studio, Muscle Activation Schaumburg, here in Schaumburg, Illinois, where we believe that your health is your most valuable asset, and the single best thing that you can do to both boost and protect this asset is exercise. Specifically, exercise is geared towards building the health and function of your muscles. Now, you, our exerciser community, we love you all so much. We appreciate your support. We appreciate everything that you are adding to our community as far as, your questions that you have and your feedback to us. And one aspect of that is when you leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, because not only does it let us know that, one, you're paying attention to, what we're putting out, but two, you're actually implementing what we're putting out, because that really is the key to it all. Learning about your exercise is great, but you still need to do the exercise in order to actually see the health benefits. So for those of you who have taken those steps to not only learn about your exercise, but implement it and then start to leave us a rating and review, we want to say thank you. We want to say congratulations, first off, for implementing, and we want to say thank you for taking the time to leave us a rating and review. And we want to highlight a review that we recently received.
This review says, "I love this podcast and can't wait to hear it every week. I thought I knew it all when it came to exercise, but you have taught me things I never knew. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for leaving us that 5-star rating and review. We are so honored to know that you knew a lot about exercise, but you're still learning a lot from this podcast. So if you have been listening to us or you're a brand new listener and you've just loved some of our episodes, we'd love to hear from you. So please take a few minutes, scroll to the bottom of your app and leave us a rating and review."
Julie, I remember when I first started getting into exercising, and not even from a professional standpoint, but just like the first time I had kind of like my orientation at the YMCA and stuff. I remember going there and thinking, well, how do I know what to do? Mm-hmm. I remember walking in and being like, okay, this seems cool. This seems exciting. What do I do now?
Right.
And literally having no idea the next steps to take, and thinking how do I know how many times to do stuff? What stuff do I even do? How do I know that I'm doing it the right way? How do I know that these are the things that I should be doing? And I mean, I tell you, fortunately, I was able to kind of figure some stuff out and, trial and error and everything like that. And, now obviously we do it as a profession and talk about it every single week. But I distinctly remember that feeling of what the heck am I supposed to do here? It seems cool. The results seem like something that I want, but I have no idea how to get there.
Right. I think someone once told me that's paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
Luckily, you did not have paralysis, but I know that a lot of people do. I remember feeling that way, not when I first started exercising, because I already knew what I like to do, which is group fitness. I just always did group fitness, and I just did what the teacher said. But when I started becoming more educated about exercise, I realized how potent exercise was, and it made me feel overwhelmed. I couldn't even work out myself. And I thought, oh my gosh, what do I do, with my clients? They're already exercising. And now I know so much more, and I have so much more respect for what resistance training is doing. Am I even doing it right for them? And, it was overwhelming. And I remember I stopped working out for a while because I felt so overwhelmed by the decisions and the opportunities. And I think many people around the globe are constantly bombarded by fitness media and fitness, ads and things. And there's so much. Someone saying, do this program, do that program, do this, style of exercise. Do this one if you want long muscles, or this one if you want, buff muscles, or all of those things. And it's hard as a consumer to think, okay, so I know exactly what I want to do next time I go to the gym, right? It actually makes it harder. It's like the more information that we're presented, which y'all are presented with a lot, the less we know what to do because we start thinking about it too much, or the options seem endless, or there's a fear. Maybe you've had a poor experience in the past with exercise, or maybe the last time you exercised was in high school football or high school PE. Maybe that was the last time and it wasn't a pleasant experience for you. I mean, I remember I hated PE, and it's crazy because I love to move, but I hated PE. So maybe that's your experience. So anyways, today we're talking to those of you who are overwhelmed. And if you feel overwhelmed with starting, you're like, I know I need to start. I have no idea where to start. What do I do? We're talking to you, and you might feel like you're alone, but almost everyone goes through this, and most people are still in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good news is that even though it looks like there are hundreds of options that you could choose, from ways of exercising to exercises to do, to frequency, how long you're going to exercise, right? Everything like that, right? Like you were saying, Julie, there are so many potential decisions to make. Really what it just boils down to is looking at one thing at a time. And that's really what we want to encourage you to do today. And we're going to give you a very simple process to how to go about doing that, because we need to take, yes, everything that we're presented with and all of our past history with exercise and everything that we think we should be doing, and kind of sift through it all, and really even not even think, okay, well, like, is this the right thing? Or, is this, the accurate way to do it? Or, is this making sense? Or anything like that, right? Like let's move past all that kind of almost like logical judgment for a second, or at least put that on hold and say, okay, it's there, but instead we're going to direct our focus to just doing one thing at a time. And once we get that one thing down, then we'll move on to the next thing, and then to the next thing. And before you know it, you'll be able to juggle 3, 4, 5, 10 things. And it's like, okay, yeah, like I kind of got this. I can do this, and I can build some momentum. And so we want to talk with you about today about how to go about doing that with your exercise, because the truth of the matter is like, if you just stay feeling overwhelmed, it's going to be really hard to get going and to stay going, right? We're always going to be waiting for that next hit of motivation to be like, oh, this is going to be the thing. And then eventually the motivation wears off, and it's like, oh, okay, like what do I do now? I don't know what to do now. So independent of motivation, independent of the rawness that often comes with exercise, we're going to give you a simple process that you can follow to not only get you going, but then also keep the ball rolling and keep you going with your workouts.
Charlie, this taking it one step at a time really reminds me of this one client that I have, and I'm going to give you guys the backstory. So many years ago, I would say close to 5 or 6 years ago, I trained this woman, and she used to come in like infrequently, regularly, like sometimes on a weekly basis, and then every other week, and then she would take months and months off, and then she would come back for a little bit. And every time she was in, it was like this. We would be like doing, I don't know, the chest press, and she's like, okay, so like how many reps of these should I do? How much time? And then how much do I rest? And then, oh, by the way, like what should I do at home? Like, should I get on my treadmill? Like, should I get outside on my bike? I have a bench at home. What are like 5 exercises I could do at home with this? And, I just kind of went along with it. I'm like, wow, she's like really into it. She's like ready to go. She's all about it. And so we would talk about these things, and every week she would come back doing none of it. And again, none of it. And then again, her pattern was like come in every week and then fizzle out for a while. Anyway, she took about a 4-year break and now she's back and she's been training with me every single week, twice a week. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary and I'm so proud of her. But when she came back in, I realized that she was bombarded and overwhelmed with so many things. Like she wanted to really succeed at exercise. That is why, like there were good intentions of all the questions she was asking, all the stuff she should be doing at home, all that stuff. But when she started back, I said, I don't want you to think about anything except showing up to these appointments. That's all we have to do right now. And so we took it from her looking at, I'm taking one step and I'm looking at the next 55 miles to now I give her one step at a time. And with just looking at one step at a time and finding the serious success that comes in with just taking one step, she's found a way to now make it a whole year of consistent exercise, which is way more than she ever did than when she was looking way, way ahead. I think a lot of times we want to think about our long-term goals. I want to exercise for forever. I want to get this perfect routine at home. I want to get my perfect outside routine, my gym routine, my stretching routine. I want to get everything all set right now. And instead, if we can pull the reins back and just think about right now, what is the next step? And maybe, one step to the side, then you'll find so much more success. And this client, she is on a roll. There is no place in the horizon that she can ever see stopping now. And what the real benefit here is her health and her body. I don't care what she's doing. I mean, I care for her, so I'm glad she's doing it. But the fact that she's doing it is not to please me. It's so that she can be reaping the benefits of strength and health.
Yeah, I love that example, Julie, because it so clearly highlights just the power of consistency and the power of getting started and just building on it. There's all these cliches out there about the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step and everything like that, but there's a lot of truth to that as well, right? Like you can't exercise for a year consistently unless at some point you actually start. And then if at another point you decide to keep going, and then another point you decide to keep going, it's just a fact of the matter. And you do that step by step, and eventually that year comes around. One thing that we like to say here is like, look, that year is going to pass whether or not you exercise or not, right? But the question is, a year from now, will you have exercised for the past year? Like, will you have put together those steps, put together those pieces to be able to do that? And so if you're thinking, okay, well, that's great, I get that it's like one step at a time, but which step do I take? Where do I even start? Well, the first thing that we want to tell you is start with what feels comfortable. Okay, start with what feels comfortable, whether it's something that you have done in the past or that you know how to do, or something that seems exciting that you would like to start doing. Whatever that kind of comfortable first step is, start with that, okay? Because there's going to be a lot of times in the future where it's like, I have to overcome this mental, emotional, or like physical kind of discomfort to kind of keep, the steps going and stuff. So before we get to all that, let's just start with what feels comfortable. And that can be, getting up and taking a walk in the evening after dinner, or it can be, hiring a trainer. It can be joining a studio and doing their group classes. Whatever feels comfortable for you, have that be your first step that you take, and then you can start to build from there.
Absolutely, Charlie. I think having this comfort with something leans its way to accessibility, right? It's like, I remember a few years ago, I signed up for like an adult ballet class, and I hadn't taken ballet for years. And I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like, what do I wear? What's the studio policy? Like, do I do a bun? Do I do a pony? I mean, I know we did as kids, but now I'm an adult. Like, it's different. So pick something that doesn't have all those barriers. Like if you're comfortable walking, well then start with walking. That's a great first step. If you have a trainer that you worked with in the past, reach out to them. Just start that conversation. If you're comfortable with them, start that conversation. And even if they're not the right fit, you can say, hey, I'm looking for this now. Could you help guide me? Maybe they can, maybe they can't. But you took that first step. Or again, like Charlie said, if there's something you're excited about. Like I had a client that got really interested in tennis. So she signed up for tennis lessons because her nephew is really into tennis. So she wanted to learn too. She was excited about it. Sometimes excitement and motivation like breaks down barriers because you're really focused on the doing of the thing. So find what can you do that doesn't require a lot of mental garbage and mental barriers that you can just go ahead and jump right into to get yourself moving. Now remember, this is the first step, not the entire journey.
Right, exactly. That is step one, because step two is, look, eventually some stuff is going to come up, and it may even come up before you actually feel like you're fully taking that first step. So after you decide kind of what your thing is that you're going to do from a like, yeah, I feel comfortable, I can see myself doing that perspective, go and seek out some guidance. Go and seek out some accountability. Go and seek out somebody to kind of show you a way to make it more efficient for yourself. Because eventually what's going to happen, whether you're feeling this way or not, is the day's going to come where you don't feel as motivated, or you don't feel as excited, or the thing that feels really comfortable today doesn't feel as comfortable as it once did. And so this person, this guide, will then help to show you, hey, this is how we can make it easier for you. This is how we can make it more appropriate for you. This is how we can allow you to keep the ball rolling so you don't go into this pattern of stopping and starting and stopping and starting and stopping and starting. And right now at the very beginning, this person can show you, okay, I know that you're really excited about doing this, and that's great. Let's actually simplify it even a little bit more to make it even a smoother transition, getting the ball rolling for you right now.
Yeah, I think the guidance piece really will help direct you in terms of what do I need to focus on and what do I not? Because just because you take that first step and you start doing some stuff and you're like, hooray, I'm walking every day, or great, I'm taking tennis lessons. Again, that's your first step. It doesn't mean that the overwhelm of the fitness world is going to stop. You know, someone might present with you like, oh, you need to start doing this class because it's all beneficial for, blood flow or whatever, whatever the things are. The guidance that you receive can help direct you, and keeping direction helps to keep momentum. And it is so important to gain that momentum because we're looking to exercise for the long term, even though we're looking to do it one step at a time, right? So every step has to be something that helps build momentum. So find your tribe, find a podcast, find a trainer, find a partner, whatever that is going to help guide you on this fitness journey, and not continue with the overwhelm, continue with the options, but almost to take away the options so that it's a more direct path in that direction of exercising that you're wanting to go.
Yeah, one thing I've definitely seen, especially when people are first starting out, is they get this kick of momentum, they get this kick of excitement, and then it's like, well, I don't just want to do one thing. I want to do 4 different things. And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this on Monday, and this on Tuesday, and this on Wednesday, and this on Thursday, and then, da-da-da-da-da. And I've had so many people come in, especially when they're first starting off, and they're like, okay, well, what else should I do? Like, what else can I add, and what can I do on my own? And, kind of like you were saying, Julie, there's this excitement of like, okay, I'm going to take these steps. I'm going to get, the ball rolling. And for Julie and me as guides, part of our role is to say, okay, this stuff is important. Don't pay any mind to focusing on this stuff for right now. We will implement that along the way, but for right now, this is all I need you to focus on, this one singular thing. And then even though that can sometimes feel like, oh, it's just like killing my excitement or killing my momentum or anything like that, really what it does is it sets you up for success for the long term. So right now, if you're feeling like, okay, yeah, like I'm ready to get started, I'm going to sign up at the studio, I'm going to call the trainer, I'm going to do all these different things. What the guide will be able to do is say, I love your excitement. I love your energy. Let's channel it all towards this one thing right now. And once we get that rolling, then we can start to add in more stuff down the road as necessary.
Absolutely. I have to say, probably 99% of my clients. I literally have one client that he will ask for things to do on his own, and he will do them and build on them and all these things. And I'm not saying it's due to lack of motivation of everyone else, but I just find that it's too overwhelming. So when people come in here and they're saying, you know, we're doing the next step, which is this workout, focusing on this workout. And they're like, okay, so at home, day 1 through 7, until I see you again, what am I doing? No one does it. And so I've stopped giving it. I say, I'm sorry, I don't give that to people, because not only do people not do it because it's overwhelming, but second of all, it does not help the momentum in the right direction, right? Like feeling like I gave you 7 days of assignments and you did none of them does not help motivate people. It doesn't make people feel like, yay, okay, I'm doing all the things I should be doing. Instead, keeping it simple and saying, this is all you need to do. Show up to these appointments. This is all you need to do. Go to your tennis lesson. This is all you need to do. It helps build that momentum and keep that ball rolling for you to take the next step. Because all we ever look for in workouts is, okay, we took the next step, so let's just prepare for just one more step. And then we take that next step, and then we prepare for one more step. Because Charlie, we see clients for years, and often, you know, we're going steps in one direction and then we veer and we go in another direction.
Yeah.
And if that first step, we already planned for step 1 million, well, then we'd be in the wrong spot for you, because we always can only prepare for one step at a time.
Yeah, absolutely. And this really leads into the third step of this process, which is after you're starting with what's feeling comfortable, after you get guidance to tell you what you need to focus on, what you don't need to focus on, and the next step for you to take, then we want you to put a 1-day plan in place, okay? 1 day means today. What are you going to do today? All right. Not thinking about what am I going to do tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that and next week and 3 months from now and everything like that. Okay. Because again, that can even start to feel a little bit overwhelming trying to think that far into the future. But just like, what can I do today? And what's my plan to do my workout today? And once you are able to do your workout today, then you can start thinking about, okay, well, what's my workout tomorrow? And then my workout the day after that. And then eventually, over time, you will start to get this thing down where it's like, okay, yeah, I can start to think about, all right, well, I'm going to be traveling in 2 weeks. And, how am I going to make sure that I get my exercise in while I'm traveling? Is a hotel going to have a gym? Or, where can I go hiking? Or, stuff like that. You'll start to be able to look more ahead like that as you start to build momentum, and this thing right now that feels really overwhelming, it starts to become less so because you get the ball rolling by taking these first 2 steps, and then you implement it 1 day at a time. Eventually, you will be able to think multiple weeks and months ahead of where you are right now. But right now, just focus on where you are at today and put in your plan to get in your exercise today.
Charlie, I love that. And it's bringing up like a little mantra that I set in stone for myself a couple weeks ago. And this also incorporates, a couple weeks ago, we did a podcast on, how to exercise if you feel like you have an overbooked, overscheduled life. So if you're interested in that, check it out. Anyways, I often find that I get overwhelmed with what's going on in my day. And I'm not only just thinking about when am I going to get my workout in. And probably most people live like that. They're not only thinking about, okay, today's only task is get my workout in. But I kept telling myself, okay, every time I tell myself I'm too busy to work out, I'll just say, it ain't that serious, Julie. Just do it. And now, if you listen to our podcast in the past, you're probably thinking, Julie and Charlie, y'all are very serious about resistance training. And we are. There are some ins and outs that we're very particular about. But getting moving and getting started and just thinking about 1 day at a time, it ain't that serious. Let's get going. Think about a 1-day plan. Once you succeed with the one workout, then move to the next one and just think one step.
I love that. Okay, so what are your 3 steps in order to start taking this one step? Number 1, start with what feels comfortable. Again, if it's getting up and walking or hiring a trainer or joining a group class, whatever you feel comfortable doing, start with that. Number 2, as soon as you can, begin to get guidance, because inevitably what's going to happen is as soon as you take that first step, you're going to start thinking about all the other steps that you should be taking. And this guide will allow you to say, well, you know what? Only this one step is actually what's important. And over time, we'll add in some other stuff. But right now, let's just focus on this one step. And then number 3, put in a 1-day plan of action. A 1 day, what are you going to do today to get your workout in? Tomorrow, you'll take care of tomorrow. The day after that, you'll take care of the day after that. But today, let's just focus on getting your workout done today. Now, what's the issue with not following this type of system? Well, I mean, the reality is if you don't start with this system or a system like it, eventually you're just going to succumb to the fact that, oh, well, I guess exercise just isn't for me because there's just too much that I don't understand. I just feel too overwhelmed all the time. You will always feel like it's too much to get started, which means ultimately you will never get started with exercise. And that's a really big issue for your health now, for your health in the future, and not only just your health, but the ability to do the things in life that you want to do. That's really what it boils down to. So making sure that you are implementing what we're talking about today really is of the utmost importance.
Charlie, early in my career, I used to have so many people that would come up to me. I used to work, at different gyms. They would even call in here and whatever, be like, hey, I want to do, 1 to 3 sessions. And during those 3 sessions, let's set up a plan for me for the next 5 years. And it would be so much information. And, I would do it because I didn't think twice about it. I was like, well, yeah, I mean, this person must be so motivated and so whatever. And after a while, I realized I'm just adding to the bombardedness, right? They took 3 sessions and I tried to teach them what to do in 5 years. What? So now I just say, I'm sorry, I don't do that. We have other resources like our at-home workout program and some online resources that we've developed now. But in person, yeah, we're not doing that not because I don't want to, but because there is so much lack of success that happens from that. So if you've done that in the past, maybe you're like, well, I did step 1. I started, doing walking or got on my bike. And step number 2, I hired a guide. I hired a trainer for 3 sessions or 3 months and tried to get this program set up and it didn't work. Okay, that doesn't count. You got to do something with step by step, 1 day at a time. Don't look ahead at 1 year. Don't look ahead at 6 months. Just focus on the next step and preparing yourself just to do 1 step.
And when you do that, you will start to feel just how simple it is to actually get your workouts in, okay? Regardless of what else is going on in life, regardless of how crazy busy your schedule is or anything like that, it will truly feel like, oh yeah, this thing of getting my workouts in, this is easy. I can do this. I can do it consistently and I can do it day after day. But it starts with taking that first step. And the cool thing is when you do that, you'll start to build momentum with your workouts and it'll just get easier and easier and easier to do it. And you'll build that momentum with your workouts. You'll build that confidence with yourself to be able to yeah, I'm somebody who sticks to something. I'm somebody who can keep doing things that I set out to do. And not only that, but I feel myself getting stronger. I feel myself getting healthier. I feel myself getting more capable throughout my day-to-day activities. And that is such a powerful feeling to know that, yeah, I started by taking 1 step at a time, and now look at me. Look at this ball rolling. Look at everything that I'm able to do now, and it all started from taking that first step.
Absolutely. I even had a client last week saying she does MAT with me, and she was thinking about starting to train, and she just wanted to ensure that when she showed up, she would just do exactly what I would say. And I loved that because that was her showing me that, hey, I just need you to help me with that one next step, that one next thing. And so it is amazing the amount of success that you will achieve when you just think about what is right ahead of you, not thinking about what's across the pond or whatever, but what is right ahead of you and tackling that project right now.
So if you're feeling like, okay, well, this is great to get me started, but like, how do I stay consistent with this? How do I actually make sure that I'm able to kind of keep doing my workouts? Because I mean, life gets in the way, right? So like, how am I going to stay consistent with it? Well, actually, this type of concerns have come up quite often. And so because of that, we put together a training that's going to teach you a simple 3-step process in under 30 minutes on how to be consistent with your workouts, no matter what else is going on in your day, what else is going on in your life. It's a system that anybody can follow. It's a completely free training. All you have to do to watch it is go to 30.exerciseforlifemethod.com. That's the number 3, the number 0, exerciseforlifemethod.com. And there, the video will be there. You just click play, you watch it. It takes less than 30 minutes to watch the video, and it will give you a simple 3-step process so you can start implementing immediately to make sure that you stay consistent with your workouts once you take these steps and start to get the ball rolling. So who do you know that needs to hear this episode? Who do you know that is feeling overwhelmed with the idea of starting to exercise consistently, and because of that, they're not exercising at all? Share this episode with them so they can learn of a very straightforward, simple process that they can start doing today to help move past the feelings of overwhelm and start to get the ball rolling with their workouts. And while you're online, head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a rating and review. It helps people find our podcast when they're looking for information on exercise and when they're looking for information on health. So if you found value in this conversation today, let us know by leaving us that 5-star rating and review. Well, thanks so much for tuning in. We always appreciate it. Have a fantastic week, and we'll talk with y'all next week. So what'd you think about that episode? Did you find the information useful? If you enjoyed what we discussed during today's episode of the Exercise is Health podcast, then you are going to love what I'm going to be presenting during my new training, How to Rebuild Your Aching Body in as little as 6 weeks without changing your lifestyle. It's happening this week, and you can get registered for free by going to secrets.exerciseforlifemethod.com. But space is limited, so you need to head there now. secrets.exerciseforlifemethod.com, and I can't wait to see you there. This podcast is for information purposes only. The statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Julie and Charlie Cates, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse effects from the use of information contained herein. Opinions of guests are their own, and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests. This podcast does not make any representations or warranties about guest qualifications or credibility. This podcast may contain paid endorsements or advertisements for products or services. Individuals on this podcast may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to herein. If you think you have a medical issue, consult a licensed physician.